Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar. This one is going to be extremely informative. Bob is going to go over electronic price sheet in fairly good detail and touch on some price updating and parts genie use. But this is going to be one that you definitely want to take notes on, so I recommend that everybody take notes. Please raise your hand if you have any questions, and we'll stop and answer the questions that we can. And also, so you know, there will be all sorts of support after the webinar available for those that have some more detailed questions or want to have questions answered concerning their specific system or their specific scenario. But without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you are located at. Basically, electronic price sheet is a I believe I use it in my store quite a bit. I think it was one of the best things that ever came out. It gives you the ability to be able to have literally a million part numbers at your disposal without having to full line load or put that stuff into the system. Okay, it affects cataloging if you're using electronic cataloging at all. Basically, if EPS is set up right, okay, you could basically look up any part number. It will show it from the price sheet. If you have a matrix set for that customer, your people do not have to worry about how to quote. You're making all those decisions in your office as far as what you want them to quote for any line. It'll work on lines you stock. It'll work on lines that you don't stock. They'll see every price that you want them to, and all they have to do is select it, and it'll actually put it in the inventory and put it in the correct product line. Okay, the implications there as far as for cataloging is that all your pricing is complete for every line, stocked or non-stocked. You don't have a million part numbers in your system. You basically can have the minimum part numbers, just the part numbers you stock and just the part numbers you sell. When it's time to look at what you're stocking and not selling and selling and not stocking, you could quickly identify those and be able to keep your inventory cleaner. Okay. There's a couple of setups in UserVar for the catalog to work, and I'll go through those in just a little bit. All right. As far as ePart, if any of you people are using ePart, when EPS is set up correctly, anything that they look up in ePart will also be displayed whether the number is in your file or not. And you've all been in point of sale where, you know, you call up a part number that's not in file. I just go into a regular, generic cash customer, and I'm just gonna, got him up somewhere else, and I'm just gonna type in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They happen to have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 figures. I'll do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have that too. I bet you they don't have that one. Okay. So basically when that comes up as try again, your options are try again or record a lost sale, the normal stuff that you've seen forever. Obviously when you hit the number 5, if this is set up right, anything that's close to that number, you'll be able to pull it up. Now, if there was a number 1, 2, 4, 6, 7 in any of these lines, it would show up. I can actually continue the search by hitting F8 and going further. Very simple. Maybe I was looking for a 1, 2, 4, 7, 9. I can just select that number 2, and now I've got accurate prices that is actually calculated for that particular customer, whatever price level he's on, or percentage of price levels that he's on. The decision is made in my office. My guys just sold the part. Okay. If I add the part, it'll correctly pull it out of that price sheet, put it into the correct product line, track the sales on it. So when it's time to reclass your inventory or go through and clean up a line, you could very, very quickly see those items that you're selling and not stocking, and stocking and not selling. So you're organizing your inventory the way you really should. And I just want to go over a little bit of how this works. Now, normally with electronic price sheet, because we've added a lot of these programs as time has gone on, the programs are all over the place. Okay, so what I've done, and I'd be happy to share this with anyone who's on the call. I'll share with you my email address. I've created my own menu. So when I go into my miscellaneous menu, 14, and I go to 9, price updating, okay, you'll see that when I go to select the product line, I now pull up a custom menu, one that I've made. So basically, when you look at this menu, you could see, and this is a customer who's going direct to a warehouse that provides them with special lines. But there's 3 basic parts in electronic price sheet that's extremely important: selecting a product line, adding it to the EPS file, and applying it to your inventory. Now here's one rule that's very, very important, okay, and one that if you want to take notes, this is extremely important. I mentioned once before that the 2 most important things in any computer system to have accurate is your quantity on hands and your pricing. If you're using catalog and you're using EPS in the catalog, when you download a price sheet from the Parts Genie, it goes to a specific directory for applying those prices to your inventory. Then the catalog reads another directory that reads the price sheet for the catalog. It's also the same directory that when you pull it up in point of sale and access the electronic price sheet, it's going to that second directory. So there's 2 directories that we have to update whenever we do any price updating. That's extremely important. So the first job is obviously to select a product line. So if I go into number 2, it's going to ask me if it's a ACS or a CCI type price update. I'm going to choose the, most of the time it's going to be ACS on this system. And I'm going to go into the internet. And if I selected current, by the way, it would show me just those lines that just changed that current month. So you could really stay on top of your pricing as well as your competition sometimes. Sometimes a competitor is carrying a particular line and you can see that he's gone up. That's the time to attack his customers if some of them are using it. I'm just going to say all, and I'm just going to select major manufacturers. So it builds, and most of you have done this. So once it builds this file of all the major manufacturers, I'm going to, by the way, I'm going to hit the F10 button. I'm going to select Wix. I'm going to hit the F10. That brings me to the end of the file, and then I can do the F9 page up because it's closer. Wix is closer to the end of the file, and I'm lazy and oops, went too far. Don't want to hit too many keystrokes. I just made it. Oh, there it is. Nice. Sorry here. Okay, Wix is right there. I'm gonna pick all filters. Okay. Now, once I've selected it and it puts the asterisk, obviously I hit F11. It asks me for my line code. Okay, and it creates a file in the system. And by the way, if any of you are using any UPC codes, it will update your UPC codes if your user var option is set to use barcodes. I hit return, and I've just selected the file, and I've downloaded it to my directory that basically applies it to inventory. So the next step I want to do is I want to update my EPS file with the same file so that my pricing is accurate between both directories. The one that affects point of sale and cataloging and the one that updates my inventory should equal the same. A lot of people will just apply the price update, forget about updating the EPS directory. Now if you pull a price out of cataloging, it's going to be inaccurate. It's going to be using the old file. So this updates one directory. And as soon as I hit that, if this is a line that I've done once before, okay, it's going to remember my line code, and it's going to remember the product line that it goes into. And this is the name of the file. So the system remembers that, okay? All I have to do is hit the F10 key, and it's going to update all those numbers immediately into the EPS directory. I have not updated my inventory yet. All I've done is updated my directory that the catalog and point of sale reads, okay? If I want to look at this price sheet right now, once I've updated, all I have to do is hit the F7 button, and it'll actually show me the price sheet. And by the way, you can search for any part number If you hit a / key, you'll see a box that pops up. If I just type in a 51515 and hit a return, it'll tell me down below that it's line ahead. Okay, I just basically hit the page down key once and then hit the down arrow once, and my 51515 is at the bottom of my page that I can look at my descriptions, my pop code. I could see all the pricing that they've put in it, and I could basically see my jobber price. I can look at, you know, my per pack. Oh, geez, they didn't per pack this correctly. Okay. In either case, I got to get that straightened out with the genie. But you can look and make sure any part number is in there. Once I've done that, step 2 is done. So step 1 was basically selecting my product line, and there's 2 ways to select them for this customer, because he can select them from directly into a star line too. So you select, then you add, and then the next step is to apply. Okay, so it remembers the file. If I go down to number 2 and select that file, and I say yes, okay, now it's got all my, and basically what he's doing, he's got all his levels set based upon, in this case, jobber price. So jobber price is in price level 0, and he's got a formula based on what he wants to sell it at in the price levels of what they're going to go to in his inventory. What we're saying here is we're going to update the description. This is the line code we're going to use. We're saying yes to description, yes to pop code, yes to unit pack. In this case, because they didn't do the unit pack correctly, I'm going to say no. Okay? We're not going to do the per car or the unit weight. And then what we're saying is in level 0 in our inventory, we want to update from the update, in other words, that file, we want to update level 0 in our inventory, okay, at 100%. I think I said that wrong. Update price level 0 in our inventory, yes, from level 0 on the update at 100%. Now, if some guys, and what he's doing basically is he has his product line discount set to his discount so that his people can't see his actual cost in the inventory. And plus with rebates, because we use price level 0 for rebates, we want to update price level 0 at jobber so that he gets the correct rebate amount. There's other things that are involved here, but that's why he's got these percentages in there. And it will remember that particular, you know, once you save this, any part number that's in the Wix price sheet that he does not have in file will show up both in cataloging or in point of sale without, you know, by searching the electronic price sheet, and the pricing will be accurate. It'll be right up to the money. Okay. If I hit F10 here, it will update all my inventory, and it'll give me the option to print any part numbers that did not get updated. And those are the part numbers that are no longer in the price sheet. Those are the ones you need to research. Those are the ones you need to look at and say, if I've got inventory on this, I need to find out what the surviving numbers are. And maybe even talk to your rep about taking them back. They're most likely obsolete. This is the way you want to keep your inventory clean. Okay? The thing is once that's done, and I'm not going to hit the F10 key. This is a live system, so I don't want to change his update dates or anything like that. Okay? So I'm just going to F11 out of here. Okay? And if I had chosen multiple lines, it would have added all of those lines. You could do 5, 6, 7 lines at one time. So if I went through that major manufacturers and I found out that on April 1st, 8 lines went up, I could select all those lines. If I had done them once before, it'll basically remember all the product lines that they go to. Any part numbers that you select from either cataloging or point of sale will go to the correct product lines. Okay? And I'm going to go through this menu one more time, because if I go to change, okay, this gives me a list of all the product lines that are going in, you know, all his files, all the product line manufacturer codes, what product lines they go to, and there's a ton of them here. Okay, so they're all going to the correct product line.
Excuse me, Bob. I know you mentioned
very simple. Now you'll notice here.
Bob?
Go ahead, Steve.
I know you mentioned this before, but I just wanted to go over one thing. The product line number that you put in there is where the part actually gets added to inventory once it is sold, once you answer yes in point of sale.
Or selected it from cataloging.
Or from catalog. Whenever you sell a part, it puts it in that product line. So from the 50,000 foot level, what you've done here is you've taken a line that's conceivably 3,000 part numbers, and in two processes, you've updated the 300 parts that you stock in one directory, and you've updated the 2,700 parts that you don't stock in the EPS directory. So like Bob said, it's two distinct processes to affect both of those groups of parts, and you must do both of those. Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Okay. And at any time, by the way, I can, if I'm moving product, you know, changing manufacturer codes or moving stuff to a different product line, I can go in here and change it, okay? Sometimes, and I'm going to show you what happens sometimes when people make a mistake and select the wrong line and add the wrong line to the product line, okay? Maybe like in the case of gates, you have the option to choose gates by the each and gates by the foot. Sometimes guys will make a mistake. They sell by the foot, and then all of a sudden all their stuff is priced wrong because they chose the wrong file and they added it to their EPS already. And now what happens when they look into the EPS file in point of sale, the part number will come up twice. When that happens, we have to differentiate which one is the correct one, go to the wrong one, and usually what I do is I put a ZZZ as a manufacturer code to indicate that that's the wrong one to choose. And I have ZZZ set to where all the prices are 0 so that my guys couldn't possibly make a mistake. Now, and this is a little bit premature here, but there's a lot of people that have made a lot of mistakes in the electronic price sheet file, and repairing it and cleaning out the stuff that you don't want is a little bit of a process. I'd be happy. I have a document that it's for advanced users, but basically I would be willing to help anybody who wants to clean their stuff up and get everything ready. Okay, and I'm going to show you how cataloging works. You take a line like A1 here, and this is a good example on the log because we don't use sublines, but if you're looking at this file, you'll see that all my A1 lines, I use specific manufacturer codes. A1P is power steering, A1S is smog, A1B is boosters, A1C is calipers, A1E is electrical, A1W is water pump, rack and pinion. I can't remember them all, but A1A is axles. I mean, those are just the ones I remember, and I've got them going to specific product lines. All right, so now when you set up your cataloging and you've got the correct manufacturer code in cataloging and you pull in these part numbers, you can have multiple discounts and everything works perfectly. The one thing that you got to remember, like when we went to apply that price sheet or put in that percentages, and I'm going to go back to Wix. By the way, with this menu, once you go into change, it also brings all the files back into apply so that you can revisit any line you want to. Okay, so if I go to number 4 here now, there'll be tons of files in there. And that's the error message you get when we have to clean up this directory correctly. Steve?
So if you see that, that's time to call Bob.
Okay. That's when somebody just updated all their product lines without, you know, cleaning out the manufacturers correctly. So they didn't repair it correctly. That's why all that stuff is there. But, you know, if I go to Wix now, okay, this is a price configuration file, so that this Wix that I've saved, okay, has got these percentages in here, and that's what's going to come in anytime you pick a number out of either EPS or out of point of sale. So consequently, if I have a line like A1, and I have one line code for every A1 product, like A/1 or CAR or whatever the case is, you can only save one price file to go with that. All right, and as a result, if you have a line like Cardone where there's multiple discounts, I get 30 off on master cylinders, I get 40 off on power steering. It's going to come up with the same percentages that won't always work for every product line. That's why I was forced to use a distinct manufacturer code for every one of the lines that I pulled out. Okay, and unfortunately, one of the problems with EPS is it can get very, very complicated, because discounts is one thing. Okay, you got to be very, very careful when you set up line codes that they should be done by the discounts. Okay, and stuff can be changed. I mean, you could change manufacturer codes quite easily on the system, update your cataloging. It's pretty simple to change this stuff. It doesn't affect anything. You don't need a line code in point of sale. You don't use line codes in the catalog. It'll just seamlessly work, and all your pricing will be accurate. Your costs will come through accurate. The selling prices will become accurate. People are not making mistakes giving stuff away. But it's very, very important to realize that if you have a different discount, you really can only use one line code per discount. That's why I've changed them to that. Is there any questions on this so far?
I think everybody's appears to be up to speed. We'll keep going.
Okay. So let me just give you an idea here what happens when you have it set up correctly. I'm in cataloging. Okay, this is the same system that the guy's in. And basically I'm going to go to fuel and emission. I'm going to look up a fuel pump. I'm going to use an 03. Let me just use a Cadillac. I got to be careful. I don't know what I'm going to run into here. I didn't look up any of this stuff before. Okay. Okay. He's got the Airtex. Here's a fuel pump pigtail. Okay. He doesn't have it in file, but it's available through EPS. Now that means it's in his EPS directory. It's priced, so now the counter guy can accurately price it. This is a part number that is not in file. Okay? If I was to get out of here and try to type in WH3006, that's part number. Let me just get out of there real quick. It's not in file. I can go to number 5, and it should show it there, and I could actually look at it, and it should have the right pricing. I'm not going to add the part, okay? I'm just going to show you how it happens from cataloging, too. So when I go back into cataloging, and I'm in that same part number, if I selected number 1, you know, I could first do a number 1, and if you got cover to cover, you can look at it and make sure it's the right one, and that's right through an Autologue as well. If I choose number 1 and just hit a return, you'll see that the item is posted. So at this particular point, it pulled it off the price sheet and put it in the system. It's a D-mover. It's classified as a non-stocking number, so it doesn't put any order points on it. We have none on hand, none on order, none on back order, and basically if he sells it, okay, it's going to give him a warning. Boom. But it's in file. If I just up arrow and deleted it, and I recall that number up, it's there. Okay?
And
if I go back into cataloging now, it shows that it's zero availability. It doesn't say EPS any longer because now I've pulled it out of the price sheet and put it into the inventory. So, you know, if we had sold this, it would be in the correct product line. Anything that's in the EPS file. I mean, he's not a great big Delco provider, but basically he can have Delco or another line as a secondary line, have EPS set up, have a discount structure set up. So if you carry wicks and you have a local supplier for Baldwin, you could download the Baldwin price sheet, throw it into EPS, put a discount structure on it, and what you basically think you should sell it for, so your guys will be quoting correctly, and point it to product line 0, or on lines you don't stock, that you don't stock at all, you can point it to a specific product line. That's, so that if you wanted to, you can visit those numbers to see if you need to look at them in your regular line, see what you're selling on stuff that you have to buy out all the time. The point is that you can make sure that your prices are being exact to what you want your customers to be quoted. Okay, nobody's taking any guesses, because a lot of times you get one counter guy he'll use a 1.5 multiplier, another guy will use a 1.6. The next time the guy calls, he's getting different prices from different people. This way you're going to be pretty much consistent on whoever calls. All your people are quoting the right thing, and basically you're making those decisions in the back office. Okay, I mean, that's basically how EPS works through cataloging. Now, it's very important that you remember this, that when you're looking at EPS, you got two separate directories. One that updates your inventory, and one that updates your point of sale and your cataloging. Okay, so that's why very, very important here that when you add or update price files to EPS, you're straightening out your point of sale and for new numbers, and your catalog for new numbers. And the apply section is for what's in your inventory file now. Basically the average store, and my store, we did $1.5 million, pretty solid store, 110, 125 a month. And basically in the course of a year's time, we touched maybe 30,000 part numbers. Okay, I know systems out there that have 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 part numbers in their file. It takes longer to back up, it takes longer to do purchasing. I mean, not that much longer, but for the most part, to me, less is more. I can have 1 million part numbers without slowing my system down at all, and just want to watch the numbers that are being sold. Okay, the change manufacturer codes. Okay, that's basically so that if you do make some changes in here, you can very quickly do it. I just found out that this line, should have been, let me just change this real quick here. Find one that's, he made a mistake on before. Okay, I just realized that this CAS.aut, okay, should be CAS. I just have to change it, okay? Get off that line, hit F10. It does not update every line. That just updates the manufacturer code and the product line that you're going to. It's not a full-blown what we call our make price program, which re-adds it to the EPS directory. I'm going to change this back. Okay, and hit an F10. All right, the other thing that I've done here on this menu is that once you configure this, and for any of those that want to get started on this, that are using cataloging, want to be able to use EPS, email me. My email address, if you guys want to write this down real quick, is bfasano@msn.com. So it's first initial, B as in Bob. My last name is Fasano. So it's bfasano@msn.com. Okay. This print manufacturer codes and product line numbers to printer 1. Okay. I basically instruct all my people that you should be printing this file out whenever you add new lines to the system, and it will give you a list of the file name, the manufacturer you're calling, you've called it, and the product line that you're putting it in. And this is a Bible for a couple of things. If you're curious about a file that you're pulling off the system and where it should go, when you pull that file off, you can actually look at it and make sure, oh yeah, that should be A1P, and go into product line 92, and you can make sure you got those changes. It's just, if you ever have to repair the EPS line, you want to have a list of all the manufacturers that are in there and where they go, so that you can very, very easily rebuild it. In the product line file, I just added this as a link in here, because if he does decide to go into product line number 163, which was his Wix, you'll see that he's getting a 25% discount on that line. He doesn't want his people to see his cost on the inventory, so basically he dumps Jobber in there and he gets 25 off of that. Okay, this is three-step distribution guy. Now, I specifically did not mention, this is just files from the Genie. In our advanced, we're going to do this in a more advanced class as far as bringing in Excel files and how to manipulate those. Okay, I've added load pack to this. Remember that one product line that we did do was Wix. I don't know how many guys have done load packing. Okay, but if I want to just do it by a movement code, and I want to make sure I put all my new numbers in, I remember the name of the file, and it would be on your list, Wix0-WIX. You don't need the extension, the .auth or anything like that. You hit a return. If I did not have a file that existed in there, basically it wouldn't take me to the manufacturer code box. I type in what I want my manufacturer code to be and the product line number that I want. And then basically I could say, you know what, let's put all these new A numbers in there, and that's all I want. Or let me give the A's and B's. I want to get all the new popular numbers and put them in automatically. And if I did that, and I say above correct, it'll go through and it'll dump any new A's that are in the system, so that he can look at it. It'll either, I think it puts it in the end of the file, but very easy to find it, see the new numbers, go from there. Okay, I'm going to say no here, and I didn't want this to be a class on load packing, but there's a lot of things that you could do with this. Okay, and when you have those files in there, you can depending on the kind of files that you're getting from your vendors, and using pop codes goes back to what we talked about last week if you were in our meeting about how you can manipulate your inventory, keep it fresh. You could put in all the new numbers, make sure you're getting that new stuff that's coming out real quickly, see what it fits, get it in there, keep your inventory fresh. Okay?
And understand,
in this menu, I've also added...
Bob?
Go ahead, Steve. Any help you can give me on this? This is a complicated...
No, that's fine. Just so everybody understands that load pack is the actual antithesis of EPS, because you're actually doing what Bob referred to as a full line load. So when you do a load pack, with the exception of the way you showed it was just the A movers, but this will actually load those parts into your inventory file. So if you don't want the numbers in the inventory file, in other words, if you're just doing it for pricing, then EPS is your man. If you want to have the parts in your inventory file, in your system, that's what you use load pack for. So load pack and EPS are kind of opposites.
Well, and I will say this. There are times, I mentioned before, that it's very, very important that you understand that if I carried Bendix and I carried Bendix Global, and I wanted my line code to be the same for both of those lines, okay, and because I'm only saving, one price configuration file for both of those lines, then what I would do is I would load pack the global so that I had every part number. I'd price it the way I want, but I wouldn't save the price configuration. Then I would update my Bendix premium line. I would save the configuration on that. You wouldn't need EPS to be looking at the Bendix global line because you had a full line load on that. It would look at EPS so sometimes you can use it in conjunction with EPS is what I'm saying. There's a lot of exceptions to the rule with EPS, okay, based upon where you get the file, how you want your line codes to be, what you really want to watch, and I do a lot of custom stuff for customers to let them know that, there's a lot of different ways we can make this thing work for you. It could be very, very complicated or very, very easy, okay? Bottom line is that's why I also added some instructions and an overview here, okay, so that, and I've been modifying this You know, there are 3 steps to maintaining a price file: selecting, adding, and applying. And I've actually put step-by-step instructions in here, and I have to change it because this was when we used to have the CD, you know, the CDs. Actually, I modified this menu naturally. Some stores, if you don't leave them, if you don't disconnect it, okay, here we go. What I've actually done in this particular store, when I go to the instructions on this one, basically it's going through all the step-by-step what to do, okay, and even to the point where I've added some other stuff that we're going to go through next week, and this explains the -1s and what happens when it's a new line. We're going to go through that in just a second too. Creating price files from Excel is going to be in there, and actually where you want to put the part number and all the instructions on doing that. We're going to go into that, and I've even added a gross profit thing here, so that if you wanted to know, okay, I want to get a 33.3% margin, I need to know that I'm going to multiply that price configuration file by 150. Okay, if I want 42.9%, it's 175. So, you know, we used to always print these out. I just added them to a file so that they can look at it anytime you want. Again, if anybody is interested in this menu, please contact me. You have my email address. I could put it on your system in a few minutes. Be happy to help. Okay, so this is a customer who's kind of brand new. We're just now getting into their EPS. They don't have too many in there, but it's very, very important for their catalog to work right, for their counter guys to see every part number. It's very frustrating if you look in cataloging and you see a bunch of dots and no part numbers or pricing. You don't have it. The guy wants a price on it. Now you got to go looking for it. And so everybody starts doing things differently. Now, I want to go back to this other store here for just a second. I want to show you something. This is what's very, very important. If I went into the select and I chose a line, okay, and let's see, I'm going to pull, I think I've got this line in there, okay, and it asks me what my line code is, and I think it's ACA, okay, for AC air conditioning. All right, and I pull it in, and it puts my UPC codes. Now, at this point, I downloaded this file into the one directory that does the apply. Okay, so when I hit a return here, my next step, okay, is to go in and add it to my EPS file. Oh, I'll be darned, he does use ACA. Let me do that again. I want to show you when somebody makes a mistake. So if I pull this file in, let me go to that AC15, and let me call it ACC. I want to make sure it's wrong. Okay. Again, I've downloaded the file to the apply directory. When it's done, and I go to update, you're going to see it always pulls the first 3 digits. Okay. The important thing here is you'll see a -1 in the product line number. Now, at that particular point, it's telling you that this is a brand new file to the system. So if you know you've downloaded this pricing before, you made a mistake. Start over. Just F11, get out, leave it alone. Okay? That file can sit in that directory. It's not going to do anything, and that's one of the reasons why I always used to wonder why they created 2 directories, one for updating point of sale and one for updating, inventory. if you make a mistake and pull the wrong one in, you don't want to have it to affect your point of sale or inventory. If you're not going to apply it, you can leave it in that other directory. You have to physically apply pricing to your inventory. So if I was to actually say, oh, okay, I know that sometimes, let me just get out of here again and go back in. All right, if I said, oh, I know my line code is ACA on that file, okay, and I put the correct product line in there and update it, now when you go into point of sale, you're going to see those part numbers come up twice. One will be correct and one will be an old file. So, and there's no way to distinguish in point of sale which one it's gonna pull up. So the windup is it'll be very easily to be quoting inaccurate prices if you do this. So anytime you see a -1, if it's a file that you've never had before and you know you're adding it to the system, then choose the correct line code, choose the correct product line, and update it. If you know it's a line that you've already priced out once before, you've chosen the wrong one, or you put the wrong manufacturer code. You made a mistake. If you're not sure, you can always, again, if you email me, I'll respond to you. I'll have some contact information to you. I can show you very quickly. We could get on the system and find out where the mistake was made. Okay. If any of you are not using EPS, doing a couple of lines just to see what it's like is not a big issue. Okay. A couple of user bar options that you want to be aware of. Okay. If you want to be able to pull the part numbers out of cataloging and automatically add it, pull it from EPS, you got to go into number 13, System Commands, number 9, okay, user bar options. You can put in a P for point of sale and a T to bring you down to our old, we used to call it Triad. This is Triad Catalog Add to Inventory, okay? This has to be activated for EPS to work inside of cataloging. That's number 1. You can see he's activated on this. The other thing that I suggest is on backup that you make sure that your user bar option is set up to backup EPS. You want to make sure it's backed up. There is no issue with file sizes and stuff on that. We're doing them to a DVD, so there's no problem with. Not going to slow it down much. A couple of maybe a minute, but I suggest that you back up your EPS. This will become more and more invaluable to you as time goes on.
And I think everybody does unattended backups.
Here,
I think everybody does backups at night anyway, so it's not even going to be noticeable.
Sure. And any questions to this point?
Joe has a question. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I have a question, Bob. In purchasing, since EPS is available in purchasing, would you suggest using the actual purchase cost or hiding the cost like you do in point of sale?
Well, Joe, if you put jobber in price level 0, and you basically have a 25% discount set up in the product line update, when you go into purchasing, it will show the correct price. It will show your cost. It will take the deduction. Okay? So, like, for example, if I go into purchasing and I just I'm just going to go to a special order. I'll get rid of this thing. Okay? I do an S. All right. Now, if I'm doing a purchase order and I do a number that I don't have in file, okay, it's going to give me the option to search EPS, search my inventory, or just continue, okay? If I know it's a new number, I'll just search EPS, and it'll come up from here. So EPS works in purchasing now as well. If I know it's a number I have in file and I just couldn't remember the line code, I can search my own IDX, and I could find number 1 there, and that's the one I wanted. So if I put a quantity 1 in here, okay, you'll notice that the price that's showing here is $4.31. If I hit F2 and look in the inventory, it's $5.75. So the purchase order automatically deducts that 25% discount.
You good, Joe?
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, let me get rid of this PO. Okay, so, and I'm glad he brought that up because EPS is also in purchasing, which is really, really nice, okay? Again, we talked about this a little bit last week. I use, you know, physical inventory tools to update my inventory anytime I made any changes. I use point of sale to make sure that, you know, everything that left the store had an invoice to go with it, and returns that came back were either done, you know, we're done through point of sale. Anything that was bought out in my store was put on a purchase order. On a daily basis, every invoice that came in, I created a purchase order. As a result, when you have all your pricing correct with EPS, and you're doing purchasing, and all this stuff is going on purchasing, including special orders, whether it go into product line 0, whatever product line that you're doing with, now all of a sudden, numbers at the end of the month are accurate. Your sales versus your purchases. When you start looking at some of the reports that you're doing, you'll get you'll really get an accurate picture of what your gross profit is, because you'll have your true cost in there by line, okay? You get a much more accurate picture of what your business is doing. And I know there's a lot of people who don't even bother to look at some of those long reports at the end of the month. I took snapshots of them. I looked at certain lines. Whenever I kind of tweaked my pricing. Oh, and by the way, when you talk about tweaking the pricing, and I kind of would do this a lot when we went into that 14 and 9, okay, and 2, and went into that menu, routinely at the end of the month, I would go in and I would, you know, say, you know what, on this particular line, I might be able to get an extra half point. So I might go in there and go, well, you know what, let me just click on here. Let me do that ACA again. Got a different, okay. I might say, you know, on level 2, I'm just going to tweak this just a little bit, okay. I'm going to do a point, just a half a point here, okay. And maybe on this one, I'm just going to do a point, okay. So at any time, you know, once you got this thing going, you can very easily tweak prices. With EPS, say I've already applied my my pricing to my inventory, and what I do then is that anything that comes in cataloging, I think I should get an extra 3 or 4 points because it's slow moving. Or there's some guys that say, you know what, if I don't have it in stock, I want to make it look like I'm really a bargain. I'd rather get I'm going to reduce it by 5 points. Okay, so you basically can have one set of pricing for your inventory that you apply to, and another price that you can use for non-stocking items that are being called up in the catalog or basically being special orders. So you can kind of have your own mentality on how you want to do it. Do I want more or do I want less? I've seen it both ways.
Bob, isn't it the last formula that you save that EPS looks at? In other words,
it's the last formula that you save. And by the way, when you hit that, I'm just gonna restart this so I can get all my things back. If I change any of these levels or percentages, and I want to save them, I would hit the F3 button. Okay, and then once I hit the F3, that saves the defaults. But if I was just going to go in and wanted to update my pricing, I just hit F10, and it'll ask me if I want to print the report. I always suggest that you print the report, because a lot of times you'll find part numbers in incorrect product lines. A lot of times, I usually print them to the screen and look at them and try to work from. I don't like to waste paper. I'm an auto parts guy. I'm cheap. Sorry. Anyway, it's going to tell me what part numbers could be in the wrong product line. If it prints, it could print 1,000 part numbers because you had one in the wrong product line. Okay? It'll also print the numbers that did not get updated. It'll give you a list of what it didn't update, and it'll tell you it updated 1,100 numbers and it couldn't update 22. Those 22 are the ones you want to look at. Those are the ones you want to keep your inventory fresh. Okay? Again, in here you can always hit F4, and you could search for any part number as well by hitting the / key. If you're going to use the line code, or if there's any letters in that part number, you have to use a capital. Okay, so you have to capitalize any letters that you're searching for. A lot of information here. Once you get familiar with this, it's just a matter of using it. Once you do, I mean, I absolutely loved it. My pricing was perfect. My guys were quoted correctly. We found part numbers quickly. It makes a difference as far as the productivity of your store. Whether you're using cataloging or not, even if you use EPS coming out of just point of sale itself, because you don't have a catalog in your store, EPS is quite important. Plus, it takes seconds to update your inventory and update it correctly. Any questions?
I think, Bob, that today's session was so much information, and it's probably almost dizzying to some people because of the because of the distinctions between EPS and inventory. This is one webinar that we would really encourage you to contact us to make sure that you're taking the fullest advantage of EPS that you can on your system. I believe that in looking at the customers that are in the webinar, we have a lot of different business types. Mark is from a business that doesn't use cataloging. There's a lot of different business types. This information is valid for anybody, because what you can do is through what Bob made reference to in terms of converting or creating price updates and so forth from Excel spreadsheets, you can create EPS files for anything. It does not need to be it doesn't need to come from PartsGD. So this is useful to anybody. And once again, once you realize the distinction between inventory, pricing, and point of sale and catalog, you'll see that there's two very distinct areas that both need to be controlled. And if this was at all confusing to anybody, please send us an email. We'd love to hear from you anyway. If you wouldn't mind, just send an email and kind of give us an idea of how pertinent this information was to you, how you think it went, maybe something else that you'd like to know more about. But we're available for you guys to contact at any time. We'll go into as much detail as necessary with respect to your individual company, your individual business. Everybody has different requirements and conditions, like Bob had mentioned about hiding your true cost, things like that. That's what makes different businesses different, and that's what makes Autologue so valuable, because it has so many ways that the system can conform to the way you do business, and we want this to be a tool that you use to make money. So please contact us with any questions you have. This is, like Bob said in the very beginning, this is one of the most important things to control on your system. This is what makes or breaks a business, is having correct pricing and inventory. So don't underestimate the value of EPS. It's a huge, powerful program, and it really deserves your attention, and something that you should think about using.
And just as a side note to that, Steve, it's a very valuable program, and it can be very complicated as well, because there's so many exceptions to the rules. Files that you get from Excel go in there with a 3-digit code, and that's why I basically put that menu option on there to be able to print all those EPS lines and what they are, so that you can look at them and see, oh, these files are the files that came off of Genie. They're 7-digit codes, and there's 7 digits in that file name versus 3. The 3-digit ones are the ones that you've imported. And our next session is going to be more of an advanced session that we're going to show basically how to use Excel, how to manipulate the files, how we could set up a formula for you, and you could almost set your own pricing. what I used to do, there's also a way of anything on the Genie, there's a command that, again, for more advanced users, where you could print that entire price sheet right to a file, pull it off, open it up in Excel, and create your own price sheets, manipulate prices within Excel, dump it back into the system, and really you can have, there's another way to do EPS. You can basically have the type of situation where on my standard or on my AC, where if I sort it by my cost, I could take everything from a penny to $5, have a specific gross profit that I want to do, and create your own EPS file based upon a very complicated type of a pricing that you want to be able to do, so that you could basically get more gross profit on the lesser priced items and less on the higher priced items, and make you look very, very, price competitive. And it does work.
And that'll be something.
I did that in my AC line.
And that'll be something you go into when we talk about creating price updates from Excel.
Correct.
Okay. So you about at the end of your rope today, Bob?
Basically, in summary, EPS is nothing to be afraid of. It is an extremely valuable tool. Like any tool that's on the system, the more you use it, the more you get accustomed to it. When the light bulb goes off and you understand it, you'll improve your business.
Well, thank you, Bob. Thanks, Bob. Again, we appreciate everybody's time today. It was a very valuable class. I hope everybody got a little bit out of it. We'd like to see your reaction to these webinars. You can always just drop me an email, just hit reply on the invitation or something, and we'd love to hear what you think. We'd also like to hear what you'd like to learn more about in the Autologue system for future webinars, and we'd like to know if there was anything in today's webinar that maybe you caught part of and didn't quite catch it. Like Bob said, we'll be glad to go on your specific system and help you individually with your business. So this is something that we feel is very, very important to our customers, and we're more than willing to help you however we can. And
maybe you might want to repeat that email address in case anyone didn't get it.
Sure.
If you'd like me to put that menu in there, I can customize it to their particular needs.
Right. That's B Fasano, B like boy, F like Frank, A, S like Sam, ANO at msn.com, or you can send it to me. I'm Steve at Autologue.com. I think you can all spell that. And once again, we appreciate your time. I know this takes an hour out of your busy day. I hope it's worth it to everybody. We enjoy doing these webinars because, if you can't tell, we're both very passionate about the Autologue system. And we'll be continuing these as time goes on and hopefully addressing everything that our customers want to know more about. And again, I thank everyone for their time and have a very nice day. Thank you.